So there is a ton of anime this season that I'm watching, and you guys will get a full rundown of all the anime that I have watched, because I've been getting a lot of questions about, which anime have you been watching this season? You haven't made a video yet, what the heck? And I have been watching a lot of anime. Recently, I started watching A Sign of Affection, recommended by HERMSAUR, and I was like, wow, pretty good. More specifically, there's an anime that I want to talk about that I look forward to every week. And no, surprisingly, it is not an isekai, but it is a fantasy anime. And for me, it was one of those that I was judging a book by its cover and I didn't really know if I was gonna like it or not, but I gave it a chance, which is the Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Now, this anime is a fantasy. Rather than being reborn from the future or the past or something like that, he's born within the same time frame, but is reborn as a monster. At the beginning, as a skeleton. It follows Rent, and in the very beginning, he finds himself fighting this mysterious dragon in a section of a dungeon that he did not know was there. What ends up happening, he gets killed, but for some reason, he was able to come back, but as a skeleton. But with that, he is stronger as a monster. He finds the courage within himself to be able to push forward and try to evolve to something as close to as a human. And within that first episode, you see him evolve from a skeleton to a ghoul, and a ghoul is slowly closer to a human, but it's more like a zombie, I guess. Is a zombie and a ghoul the same? I have no idea. They look the same. When he was like, I'm a ghoul, it looked like a zombie at the same time. The difference, of course, between him and other monsters is that he has his own self intact, and that he is kind of able to communicate, at least in the beginning. Later on, of course, as time goes on, he is able to speak a little bit more. It's just interesting, and it's fun to follow Rent. Rent is a bronze adventurer. As he gets reborn as the skeleton to a ghoul, for some reason decides to rename himself in Adventurers Guild, because if he does that, if he doesn't, if he goes by his original name, of course people are going to be suspicious. On top of that, he's a monster. He's not his usual self, so he has to wear a mask to hide his appearance of him as a monster. But he chooses the name Rent again, but with a different last name, which I thought was really dumb, but whatever. Of course, the first person he reveals himself to is Lorraine, because he knows that since Lorraine is this interesting researcher, despite her being pretty well known, she thinks differently than most people, and Rent knows that he has bonded with Lorraine enough for her to really know that that's really him. And you know, she's a little bit weird and she's gonna want to experiment on him and etc. And then, you know, Rent would be down. I mean, he has no choice. Where is he gonna stay? Now, that's about all I can really go into without trying to spoil the whole series. But all I can say from this point is just that I love how Rent, from him kind of bringing himself back, trying to raise himself back up, because, you know, he started out with a new name. He's gonna start the rookie rank or whatever it is, iron or whatever. He has to work himself up. He has to reintroduce himself to different people again, or to the same people, whether if they're going to recognize him or not, and him taking on specific tasks and quests, and even some that are not tasks or quests. He finds himself helping people in the dungeon that really need help, like new adventurers and etc. With the interactions with people that really know who he is, it's pretty obvious, especially with the same name Rent. People are going to be like, oh, this must be Rent, but something must be going on. A lot of introductions of different characters. Like, there's this one character that was in a hidden path in the dungeon. So there's a lot of hidden paths in this dungeon where he was turned into like a skeleton, but there's a lot of characters that he gets introduced to that you are curious who they are and if we're going to see them again. Like, there's this one adventurer, Rina Rupaj, I think that's how to say her name, but pretty much she was one of the first people that he helped. She ended up giving Rent the mask so that he's able to hide himself. In a sense, like, you wonder, like, are we ever going to see her again? And if we're going to see these other characters again? This is one of those anime where I feel like it can be built up into something so much larger. I thought this was going to be like, oh, maybe there's gonna be like a 1 to 2 season anime, but there is so much that they can break down within this anime in particular. And I feel like, I don't know how many episodes in there are right now. It's not enough to be able to fully flush out the series. And I think they have something here, man. Considering that I did not expect much from this series at all, I have been getting nothing but banger episodes back to back, and it's not like necessarily major cliffhangers at that. I like that every episode kind of finishes you off and makes you excited for the next episode because it's a brand new adventure. Like, so this part right here, I completely lied. There are some cliffhangers per episode, but it's not too bad. It's not something where you're just like, I gotta read it now. But there are definitely some cliffhangers. But luckily for you guys, the anime has been going on for quite some time, so you can actually just binge watch through a few episodes until the most recent one. So yeah, there's a recent episode where he was helping this village from this monster or whatever, this sea monster. I thought it was gonna be like a two-parter episode. I was like, oh man, I'm just gonna get blue balled or something. But no, it actually finished within a full episode, and it didn't feel like it was rushed at all. I think this anime is definitely something you guys should be watching if you aren't already. If you like fantasy anime, I know a lot of people are exhausted of the whole fantasy and, you know, isekai stuff. This is not isekai, but the whole fantasy-esque adventure type thing. A lot of people are burnt out on it. But I will say that this anime is a lot of fun, and I really, really enjoy it. So I think you guys would enjoy it too. Some people want some recommendations, and that is one of them. So let me know if you guys are watching the Unwanted Undead Adventurer. I personally really like it. Let me know if you guys like it. Did you drop the series? Why did you drop the series? Why do you like the series? I'll talk to you guys in the next one.